Now continuing with the last tutorial on shared preferences. Now we had seen in the last lecture how we can get the default shared preference file, set values to the shared preference file, and then how we can edit the values that we have set to the shared preference file. Now today we'll see how we can set the default values to the shared preference file. Now in our preference XML file, now we'll set a default value to every preference that we have. Now for the Java we set to true, for PHP we set to false, for the edit text we say great news. So we have set a default value to all the preferences that we have set up with the preference file. Now what I'll do is I'll update a shared preference object based on some file name. I say my new prefs, and I'll put down a mode which is mode underscore private. So this gets limited to the application only. Now what I have done is I'm obtaining a shared preferences from a file which is my new prefs. Now there is no such file. So what I'll do is now I'll try to get values from this file, and in case the values are not there, I'll put down the default values from the XML file. So I have preference manager dot set default values. So the context is this. The shared preferences file name I have put down my new prefs. Now this is a different constructor that we need to operate in case we have given the file name as our own. In case we have got the default file name, if we have got the default shared preferences for the application, then we need not give the file name here, and we can obtain set the default values in the default file. Now because we have given our own name to the preferences file, we need to use this method with the name of the preferences file mentioned here. So the mode comes here, which is again mode underscore private. And then we have res ID. This is the file from which it is going to read the values, which is first pref. And then this is an important parameter to this, which is read again. Now read again means, do we want the system to read the values again from a default from the XML file once it has been set, or do we want to read it only once and then whatever values are set they will be used. So in case I say true here, so whenever system encounters this line, it will replace the set values with the default values in this file. So I have set this to true, and now I'll put down any attribute value, say et dot set text. I'll obtain the value for the key, say the edit text preference, the name of which is no key. So while putting down the edit text, the value of default value of the key, which is no key. Right. So what exactly we have done is I have created a new shared preference file, and then I am setting the default values to this file from the XML file, and I am trying to get the value of this from the shared preference file. So let us see what happens when we run this code. Just see what is the main XML file. It is pref activity. So let us set up the emulator. So it is set up, and now I'll run up this activity. Now it says there are some errors. Let us check up. Oh, there is an error in the fed in. Oh, there is an error in some other file. I'll just correct this. Clean up project. Oh, I've checked up. Yeah. Oh, I ran the wrong project. So let us see what onCreate shows us, what value it gives in the. So it shows great news, which is the default value that we have set up in the XML file. Now in case I set up some value to the edit text, so I'll set up some value. So I'll just say great news is not there. So I'll set up this value. Come back to my activity. So what is showing the right value. So what I'll do is I'll reload the activity and see what happens when onCreate is again called. I'll make a small change so that it reloads the activity to the pref file. I'll just say you just see the pref PHP news now. So I'll again reload the activity. So again we get the value great news. So this is where this true value comes into picture. So this true it enables the preference manager to set the default values to the preference file time and again, and in case it is false, it will not rewrite once the values have been already set up. So now it checks up this through the file it creates in the shared preferences folder. This is data, again data, then we have our own folder which is the pref folder, and now this is the file it has set up. It has already set up this file which says has set default values. So as soon as it sets up the default values, it creates this file which gives us the value that it has already set up the default value. So in case it is false, it will never set the values default values for the shared preference file. So this is how we can set the default values every time we run the application, and it will not restore what values have already been set up by the previous users. Now another thing here is, now as soon as I obtain the editor, my new pref, this is my file where it has stored all the default values from the XML file. So another way is, as soon as I obtain an editor to this, and through the editor I put some value into the file, it will again create a file of this name to store those values through the editor. Now, So by this I mean is I can put any value to the file, say my name Android app, and I can commit this. So I can comment this. I can name this as my new prefs 1. So as soon as we open up an editor to put some data into the preference file, it will create a file by this name, add this data to this file. So whenever we are not requiring any preference file to be got from the user, we can set up the values right through the editor also. So I'll just run this program, and as soon as our on create completes, we can check up in the file explorer. So this comes up here, and I'll just go to my DDMS. Now this is the new file. I'll pull it and save any folder, and then check up in my folder what exactly have we got. So you can see it has set up my name to the Android app. So we can get the values through the screen we show to the user, a preference screen, or we can add the values to the preference file directly through the editor. So next we'll use fragments for getting preferences.